guys, thanks for coming out. I'm working, I went to the CTA Good Teacher Conference, and one of the things I want to present to all the teachers are the classroom management strategies from one of our presenters, Serena Pariser. So if you take a look at your agenda, I've also attached the slides for you guys to look and follow along. So just think about it for a moment. Who is your most difficult student? Can any of you describe some of their behavioral traits or the things that they do in your class this year? Yes, Sadie.
A specific student that I have in mind is defiant.
Defiant,
Yes.
Very good.
I have a student that likes to scream out and run about and do circles and fall onto the floor and then fall onto others while picking up chairs and hitting them with
So outbursts and even physical manipulating of the environment, yes? Heidi?
I have one that's just constantly like in his own world, not focused, not paying attention to instruction.
Okay, so kind of out to lunch, if you will. So if you think about it, before we go to the next question, you guys have probably tried working on their social skills, communication skills, giving them positive self-concept that they are appreciated and welcomed in your class. Can you think of any other interventions you've tried and if they worked?
I generally try to let that student calm down if there is any issues, or in fact I give them options, 2 options. And usually it's whatever I want them to do or something that has to do with them going somewhere where they don't want to go. And they generally pick the one that I want them to do.
And has that worked for you lately, or is it up and down?
It generally works.
Good, good. You were mentioning the student more physical.
Yep, so what we do in my class is we set up the expectations as well as consequences, and for example, we would do time out where they can either have a reflection or they can lose some type of activity.
Right.
And they have a choice, they can either do the reflection or lose the activity, but there's still going to be a consequence if expectations are not met.
And how has that worked for you?
Very well.
Very well, good. So you guys have found solutions, and from this workshop, we kind of narrowed it down to when they don't work in the class, the interventions, it really comes down to 3 things. The skills, they just can't do it, they give up. Their motivation or their resources in their classroom. And then they really highlighted how typical someone's motivations are their values, how they feel valued or if they value the topic, along with their confidence. And we as teachers need to focus on giving them the confidence in the classroom, and typically that is proven to kind of narrow down some of these behavioral problems. So take a look at the resources as the performance barrier. Maybe you've had students that are frozen and they just don't ask for help and they'll just sit there in class all day like if they don't get noticed, they'll be fine. Or maybe you'll have the overly talkative student, or even the ones that want to take a nap. And some of the strategies for that intervention is asking the student what he needs to do or she needs to do in order to begin. Making sure you reach out to parents and ask them, are there any resources that the child may need or that you can help provide? Asking how much sleep the child has been getting can always be an issue, especially with certain populations. Having the one-on-one conferencing kind of helps them get motivated a little bit more. And like Alina was pointing out, maybe having a system where they're checking to make sure they have their paper. They're checking to make sure they have the resources and tools they need in order to accomplish the thing. And lastly, giving a mini lesson, even on time management, can really help these students, particularly when we give them those to-do lists. Any questions on that? Skills and knowledge. They're not seeking help, they're overly talkative, or they're not participating in the lesson. Obviously, these are just good teacher strategies half the time when it comes to skills and knowledge. Giving them small group instruction. Having co-teaching, or maybe if we're doing the same lesson with another teacher, they might want to experience that with somebody else. Obviously, reteaching, or even have student-led groups that can also help bring that motivation to those children that we tend to struggle with behaviorally. Also, another thing that I found was interesting was increasing collaboration in our lessons. that involves us as teachers working together in order to make sure that we're sharing ideas. And lastly, the motivation, which was probably the most interested one. This is where we talk about difficulty concentrating and engagement. Some of the things that were presented were obviously the praising, building their confidence, okay? The behavioral contract can assign value where it's kind of like a this for that kind of thing. We eventually want to get away from that, but it does help the students, especially in the younger grades. Trying to assign value to why they're doing this, and that helps with them with the intrinsic motivation, which again is very challenging for some of our students. And simply just, and it's not on this list, I don't believe, but breaking it up, little small goals, just like if we're in the process of losing weight or saving money, little small goals can really boost the confidence and motivation of the child. Any questions?
No, I like that, that's good.
Oh yeah, bearing with me. Behavioral contracts, they still emphasize that as well. And you can use them for excessive talking, shouting and inappropriate behaviors, not staying in seat, making fun of others, rudeness and defiance, not following instructions. But obviously the catch-22 when it comes to behavioral contracts, it starts to lose value and meaning. So they try to simplify it when it comes to behavioral contracts. Simply having 3 desired behaviors where they can glance at what they should be doing. They're measurable, observable, and stated in a positive fashion. And they're co-created with the teacher and student. Those are the big ones that we tend to overlook when we gotta kind of come back to that. Sometimes we just say, I need you to do this, this, this. If not, you get X, X, X. No, we gotta kind of bring it back more towards the student focus instead of the teacher. So, just to reflect, a lot, 80 to 90% of the misbehavioral problems in our classrooms, they just want power. They feel inadequate, story of my life. They want to get even, or they want attention because they're not getting it elsewhere, whether it's with their social group, whether it's at home, whether it's with someone they really admire. You know, especially some of the groups where they're part of the in crowd, then they come to the out of the crowd. That attention that they used to get that they're not getting anymore is a cause, unfortunately for us. It circles back to what takes place in the classroom, seeing that if they're getting noticed more, that they're, the social leader in that group will want them back in. So we have to kind of look into that, how things connected outside in recess affect us in the classroom. And to do well and find out what interests them. If you can have a 10-minute conversation, hey, if you do really well, we can talk about trains, then let's do it, okay? Any questions? Thank you guys so much for your participation.